Hi, I am Spicy Korean from Big Boss Moves podcast, and I have two special ladies here today. We're going to talk about business as we promised, entrepreneurship. So here is Lorena and Pavan. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell us what they really do. Go ahead, start.
Well, my name's Lorena Yo, and I and my husband co-own 316 Team Realty. We are a small boutique Texas real estate brokerage out here serving the Frisco, Prosper, and surrounding areas.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. My name is Pavan, and I also go by Penny. I'm in mortgages. I'm a mortgage broker. I'm with Nexa Mortgage, and I've been in banking for about 3 years, but I just started my own company last year.
That is awesome. So you kind of starting out, and she's kind of been in the game for a while. How did you guys meet?
Well, do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah. So I'll start.
Okay,
first.
Go ahead.
And then you fill in the gap.
Sure.
So when I started as a self-employed entrepreneur last year, I figured, hey, I'm not a W-2 anymore. How can I save money? Because money is not coming in as it was when I was a W-2.
Right.
Things weren't stable. So Lorena was hosting a budget class, and that's how I met Lorena, and she helped me figure out how to shop less and make more.
That's phenomenal. And that kind of coincides with what you do, right? Because you have to teach people how to budget when you show them houses and if they can afford the home, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me how you actually, how did you get started? I know you said you've been kind of just started, a year and a half ago, you said?
Yes, that's right.
So what made you go from W-2 to what you're doing now?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I've been in banking since 2019, right when COVID started. So things were uncertain at the time.
Right.
But last year, I was on a vacation in Mexico, and I remember sitting by the pool and looking at the palm trees as I was in the lounge chair. And I said, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I don't want to have only 5 days vacation. And so I thought that the problem would be solved by me doing my own business. But what I later learned is now I am a 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and there is no vacation.
There is no vacation. Right. So tell me basically how do you excel, right? Because you being just started, you've been in this business for 20 plus years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your story. Like, how do you excel? Like, how did you start from where you were and then get to where you are now?
Sure. Well, I've done real estate for 20 plus years. And the first 4.5 of that was when I did it part-time. So my real job, so to speak, is a structural engineer. And
that's awesome, by the way.
That is. And there was one year I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book written by Robert Kiyosaki.
I heard about that book too.
It talked about spinning in the hamster wheel. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to be part of that hamster wheel, and I wanted to do something different. So I turned into real estate and wanting to really invest in real estate. But as a realtor, if your clients just keep looking at houses and don't buy houses, you don't make money, right?
Right.
So I didn't want to be bothered by realtors. So I decided to go get my real estate license. And at that time, I was maybe about 24, 25 years old, something like that. We bought our first home 8 months after I graduated college.
Wow.
So
that's
when
amazing.
Our friends found out that we bought our first home, they started calling me and using me as a realtor. So I was doing this part-time, 5 or 6 houses a year. That was a great part-time income. Right. You know, it was better than working at Walmart. So over the next few years, my first-time home buyer friends kind of ran out. Then my husband said, and this was maybe 2006, he said, well, the real estate license is really starting to cost you money instead of make you money. What do you want to do with it? I decided to make that my full-time career.
Wow. So it was just one day you just decided.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And made a plan. So I didn't just decide and then quit. we devised a plan on how I was going to exit.
I know it could be very difficult, right? That's one of the biggest challenges I hear. That was a great story, by the way, Lori. I love that. I heard the biggest challenge for a lot of business owners, entrepreneur to start is really just, what do you do? Because just like you said, you're used to this W-2 income every 2 weeks, right? All of a sudden you're kind of just, it's up to you to make the money.
Yeah, that's right. So when I was W-2, as soon as I would clock in, I would say, when is lunch? And at lunch, I would say, when do I get to go home? So I know I wasn't really thriving. I was just existing and I didn't feel fulfilled. So when I started my own company, it was a challenge. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was buying leads, doing Facebook ads, spending all sorts of money that I didn't have. I was living off of credit cards and, I went into a lot of debt. And so I know a lot of people don't talk about that, but in order to be successful, you have to hit your rock bottom.
Absolutely.
And so I think
sometimes
that's true. That's true. But I was happy.
Right.
I was ready to work. There wasn't a day that I had off because I was happy. Right. Every day I was doing something, which is talking to clients. And, that really helped me feel motivated. And I really appreciate, it's been a year now since I passed my exam. And it's just the best thing ever because I met Lorena. And, she's helped me grow as a person. She's helped me with my finances.
That's amazing. Not just a friend, but also helping you with business and Excel because use her experience, right? We love meeting people in business.
Absolutely.
It's all about who you know sometimes,
Absolutely.
not about what you know. Yeah, you learned this, right?
That's right. And I've met so many beautiful souls, so many entrepreneur women. I've met like Lorena. There's also a group that Lorena and I are part of. It's a Community Connections. It's women in Collin County.
Yes.
From CPA to real estate.
Photography.
I may have to join that, y'all.
I was going to tell you about
Please, yes, we will talk.
Yes, absolutely. But entrepreneurship is a very lonely road out there, won't you say that?
Oh my God, it's so hard.
Yes, it is. It is not fun. And the transition from being a W-2 to self-employed is a complete different world.
It's scary. It's scary to think about.
It's scary, and most people have a W-2 mindset when they go into a self-employment world. Right. Because it's so important. It's so easy for the boss to tell you, okay, these are the things I want you to do today. But when you're self-employed, what do? Do you do laundry while you make some phone calls? Do you cook? Sure. How do you?
It's not structured. You have to structure it yourself.
Absolutely. So my personality, I'm a very structured person.
Yes.
With my background, I started real estate with nothing. And I was not going to spend money I didn't have. So I did a lot of blogging back then when blogging was a big thing. I used more time than I did money. But I was also blessed that my husband had a W-2 job. He was an IT guy. He paid for the bills. So he was my financial support.
But what did you tell me earlier before you got to where you're now? Like, what did you have to do? You told me you had how many jobs?
Okay.
This is crazy.
Between my husband and I, this is probably when we started the Dave Ramsey journey. We wanted to get out of debt. We started in 2006. And between the both of us, we had 5 jobs. I was a structural engineer. He was an IT guy. I did real estate. We both also waited tables. But we waited tables on Friday nights and the weekends.
You're talking about a structural engineer doing this, right?
Actually, that is so true. At 24, 25 years old, when my friends was out there Saturday evenings drinking,
right?
Some of them came to the restaurant. They were very nice. They saw I was serving them. They gave me a lot of tips. That was very, very humbling to know that I was willing to do that. And there's nothing wrong in waiting tables, but it was not fun when I didn't get to go out. And because we wanted to save money, we have to mow our own yard where the rest of the world paid
But you're
somebody.
living a great life because of that.
Yes. And we sacrificed for 7 years.
Yes.
We paid off $450,000 of debt. And by 38, I was completely debt free. House, mortgage, every
Girl, that's amazing.
But my story is that for 7 years, I never took a vacation. I literally mean I didn't even drive up to Oklahoma City or whatever.
So you guys, you hear this, right? Like it's not easy to start a business by far. Like my parents also, I saw the struggle. I was a kid growing up in the small business world. It was not easy. Blood, sweat, and tears, right? A lot of sacrifices, a lot of things you can't do because you're focused on the task at hand. And that's to be a successful business, right? You want to have a great life for your kids. You want to have, generational wealth. That's all what it's about. You don't want your kids to have to work as hard as you.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
That's why we work hard. I don't have kids, but still, I still work hard for myself. I like nice things,
yes.
right? That's why I work so hard. And I want to be able to retire comfortably and, do what I need to do.
Yep.
So as far as, I know we've spent a little time about her story. Tell me a little bit more about your story, Pavan. Like really, what you really, I know you've only been in the game for a year and a half, but you have a history from it, right? And why you got started and why you really, are excelling in it.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. It's so like I mentioned, when I was W-2, I was just existing. It was Monday to Friday. And when I became self-employed, I figured, hey, I'm going to take all the vacations. I'm going to go to the best restaurants and just not have to worry about going back to work. And, I actually took a trip to the Maldives and I was actually broke at the time, but my husband paid for the trip. So as you mentioned,
a husband, that's awesome.
As
Thank
Lorena
God
mentioned,
for husbands.
Yes. And,
That's
he paid for everything and I was still making social media videos. And at the time, it was only a month since I took my exam and I was spending time away from the beautiful sandy beach on my computer, trying to pre-qualify clients and talking to realtors. And at that point, I realized I'm truly happy. Instead of me sitting underneath a palm tree like I was in Mexico, literally a few months before, I am now in the Maldives and I'm in front of a computer. I'm trying to pre-qualify a first-time home buyer so she can buy her own home. And that made me feel like I'm alive. I wasn't just existing anymore.
You were helping somebody and it made you feel good, right?
Yes. And
Absolutely.
she was a single mom from
awesome.
Turkey. And she was so appreciative and she thinks of me all the time and wishes me, happy holidays. And I connect with her as well. And when we closed on her home, she almost backed out. And I don't know, Lorena, if you've had this happen to you, but it's a big purchase.
Oh, yeah.
And so clients get cold feet.
They do.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
It's a big decision. It's one of the biggest decisions they're making, right?
Yeah. And so what I realized is that I have a big responsibility. I have to make sure that they understand that building generational wealth starts with real estate.
It really
Absolutely.
does.
You can spend $5,000 on a new purse, or you can use that as your earnest money to buy a new home.
Which sounds better, you guys? Real estate or purse?
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Something that appreciates? Or
Exactly. And it's funny you bring that up. When 2014, I was working in middle management and customer service. And I saw a lot of the clients, they would come in with Lululemon workout pants and they looked so cute. And I was a size 16. And they had, what are they called? Those purses
Louis Vuitton.
Yes, that.
The Chanel.
Yeah, it was a
Yes,
Louis
absolutely.
Vuitton. And I was like, what is that LV? Like, why are they wearing an LV? And I didn't understand that was a brand.
Wow.
So anyway, since they had it, I wanted it too.
Right.
But I looked at the tag. It was $1,200.
Oh, that's cheap for a Louis.
Yeah, that's a
Back
small
in-
purse.
Back in 2014, okay?
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, I'm not going to spend that money. That's
Oh,
just
man.
wrong.
Right.
So I walked up to my husband. I was like, honey, I have $500. I need you to invest this in Louis Vuitton stock.
Oh, look at you.
And so we bought stock. And that's
That's
stock.
how a true businesswoman thinks, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
So if I had bought
Yeah,
that purse right now, I would probably be able to, for $1,200, I would sell it for maybe $500 on Etsy
Right.
or Poshmark.
Once you're done with it, use it a few times and
Yes.
sell it, right?
That stock for $500 is now worth $2,000.
That's quadruple, you guys. Like, come on.
And it's just growing.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So this is the kind of advice we want to teach our viewers, because how did you really start? What advice can you really give to people that want to start in real estate lender? You know, Go
So
ahead.
I've been recently approached by a friend who started working in a used car sales business. So even though she has an employer, I still look at that as entrepreneurship, right? She still has to build up her book of business and stuff.
Mhm.
She came to me and asked me about work-life balance. And that's a huge topic within the entrepreneurship world.
Absolutely.
The truth is, when you are at the beginning, there is no work-life balance. End of story. And I don't really care
Okay.
how you want to call it, whatever. There
Sure.
not. You need to work really, really hard. And the truth is that you need to get the buy-in from your entire family.
Yes.
If you have children, if you have a husband, it's easy when you're doing it alone. You can work all the time. You don't
need
really
support.
need that work-life balance. But if you have a family, you must kind of work together and know that, hey, mom might be gone at 6:00 in the evening, but she'll promise to have dinner cooked by 2:00. And then you just have to come home, fend for yourself. We did a lot of that when the children was very young. And at some point when they were so young, I had to take them to showings. I tend to work with people that know me already, so they don't mind me having a 6-year-old. And from a young age, I've kind of have taught them discipline about when mom's on the phone, and this means like complete silent. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, somebody's going to get a whooping later.
Right.
But
That's amazing.
work-life balance. And even today, 20 years later, there is somewhat of a work-life balance, but not quite like the way you were talking about, hey, you were working while on vacation. I don't think that there's absolutely wrong with that, you know? So when we work. We work a few hours. We are not going to work like 8 or 10 like we normally do. The other day when I was on the lake, I was taking phone calls on the boat. Nobody knew that I was taking a phone call on the boat, and they didn't need to know. But I only needed to spend 5 minutes. I can do 5-minute work here and there while on vacation. So the family really has to understand that work-life balance in a self-employed person's world, sometimes that's how it looks like.
They have to understand,
Yes.
right?
There's
Because
no way
the
of
schedule is hectic.
hectic, and you need to attend to your client who is depending on buying a house, and you can't just tell them, oh, by the way, I'm off
I'm
for
on a
7
boat.
days. You can't
Right.
get a hold of me. And even
Right.
on a cruise, guess
Right.
what? I paid for the extra whatever phone connection or whatever. That's just part of life.
Absolutely. Because same thing, right? I mean, when you're self-employed, this is your baby.
Right.
This is your child, your family. This is another extension of your family, right? So just like she said, you have to have the buy-in from your immediate family, because that is absolutely right. When I was a kid, my parents weren't around a lot. I will tell you, but I understood as a young girl, my parents were hustling.
Yeah.
They were out there making money.
Yeah.
And guess what? I had a brand new car at 15 because of that. It wasn't because, they were just, born with it. My parents came here poor. We were in an apartment. I remember we were in an apartment with multiple, we had another family living in the apartment from what I remember. I was very young,
Wow.
but we came from that to like having multiple business. It took 15, 20 years, but we did it. And my parents worked 12 to 20 hours a day.
Yes.
And I didn't see them very much, but guess what? It taught me what I know today. And that's hard work gets you success.
Yep.
Period. Yep. You're not going to get success by just sitting around waiting on it to come, right? You have to bust your
You gotta
butt.
hustle. You gotta make
hustle.
that call. You gotta go
Absolutely.
do that thing.
You gotta, you don't have vacation. If you have vacation, guess what? You're on the computer. You're going to bring your phone. You're going to talk to your clients because your clients are important to you. You did this because not just for yourself, but you're doing it for a purpose, right? And that leads to my next question. Wait, did you answer the last question I asked?
Well, like Lorena said, you really have to have the support of your family, because when you're self-employed or an entrepreneur, you're not impacting your life. You're impacting the life of your entire family.
Absolutely.
And it can make or break people. There were times when I thought to myself, should I just give up, go back to my previous employment? And my husband said, no, you were stressed. You weren't happy. You were miserable, and you need to be able to make that decision. You just need to keep going. And he even said, if you're not successful for the first year, 2 year, are you willing to go through it? And I said, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I knew I didn't want to go back to being just existing anymore. And so I had a lot of acne when I was working my W-2, and my face started clearing up. It was because I was happier. I was taking better care of myself.
Yes.
And I think
mentally,
yes,
it's important too. Right?
Yes. And when you're self-employed, you have to take care of yourself. You have to have a routine. And I think that was the problem with me in the beginning is I would wake up late. And I remember having conversations with Lorena about that as well.
Stay disciplined, right?
Yes.
Right.
And so I would snooze the alarm, and I realized most of my day went by. And lately I've been working on that, and I wake up before my alarm. I'm able to have coffee with my husband. And
remember, you go on a walk now before
yes.
Yep.
Yes, we actually
It's discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, fast forward to this year, my husband and I were able to put our Frisco property for rent, and we bought a house closer to the lake.
That's amazing.
And we got a great deal because I knew how to structure the loan. So if you're out there and you're trying to buy a house, you need to holler at me because I will make sure you get a great loan program.
And I'll help you find the
And we're going to make sure that y'all's information will be posted, okay, on this video. So don't worry. We will have y'all's contact information. So you guys know that she will find you the home and she will find you the best loan, right?
Absolutely.
That's right.
We're a team.
Y'all are a team. And women power, you guys. Can we just talk about this,
that's
right?
Absolutely.
Like, not only that, but we're all women of color, which I think is amazing.
Wow. I didn't even notice that until now.
Well, I noticed it. I knew we were.
Right? I mean, it's amazing to see this. And, this is a very big inspiration for me. Because again, growing up from a small business household, South Korean, with speaking hardly any English coming here, it was just, it's good to see other women of color successful, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
do.
just think that in this country, there's no reason why you don't have a job. If you're willing to work hard, like all of us did, we just have to work hard. And I'm almost 50 now.
Me too, honey.
I can honestly live the way I want to live, but not only the conversations that I have with the financial advisor now is so different from
Absolutely.
when we were trying to pay off debt. There was not much of a conversation other than, hey, just gotta keep going.
Right.
But the beauty of the conversations that we have now is what are the people we can support? What are the tax advantage type investments we can do? I mean, it's just completely different.
Exactly. And I wanted to go back with what you were saying. Your husband was saying about, are you ready to really invest in your business? I wanted to talk about that because statistically, what do they say about small business?
They last about 5 years.
But how long does it take more than 80% of businesses to fail? Like within 2 years, you guys.
Wow.
That's the statistic. That was over 80%. So the first 2 years are the toughest because again, we talked about this. We're so used to getting that paycheck every week, every other week or whatever. And we're not disciplined enough because we're waking up later because we don't have to get up early, right? When you own your business, you're making your own hours. But the mentality is just like Lorena said, she had 5 jobs,
right?
5 jobs,
right?
To pay off over $400,000, almost $500,000 in debt. That is amazing. I mean, I haven't done, and I admire you for that because, you know, most people your age, under the age of 50, have not done that.
Right. And you know, the truth is that when my first year of full-time real estate, I made $23,000. If it was not for my husband, I would have gone back to work a long time ago. Then the second year, I made $55,000. Hey, I doubled, but I still only made $55,000.
It's not enough.
It's not enough, especially with a self-employed. You pay your own marketing. You got all these other things. So if you really start taking the numbers out, you really don't make a whole lot.
Absolutely.
My third year, I made $83,000. It was only after my 4th year that I made over 6 figures. And
but it was
a slow transition.
Absolutely.
One of the big thing was I actually hired a mindset coach because I was myself limiting, and I didn't know I had that problem until I talked to that coach, of course. So.
And that she did help you, or they helped
absolutely. You? So I went from 83 to over $100,000.
How did they do that? How did they help?
Well, she kind of figured out that actually I'm not afraid of, I don't have a fear of failure. I actually have a fear of success. Believe it. Yep. Fear of success. Cause I would think in my mind, when I become successful, I'm going to turn into this person like, you know, they talk about greed or all the negative
to
things.
A different person.
Correct.
Got
correct.
It.
So I didn't want to be successful because I didn't want to be associated
with negative type of, yes, I understand.
Right. So I was talking about $55,000, and the reason $55,000 was very important to me because some months as a realtor, I make $55,000 a month, let alone $55,000 a year as an engineer. I remembered begging my boss because I felt I was worth more.
Well, you're a woman in a male predominant role, right? Yes. Structural engineer is a male prominent. Yeah.
There was several times I went up to him and I said, I think I'm worth more than you're paying me.
Absolutely.
He gave me a little bit more, but by the time it was like what, $0.25 an hour or $1 an hour, it didn't amount to much. And he was a very nice man. Don't get me wrong, but I just realized I'm born for more than just for begging for money.
That's a whole new topic. Women in corporate America getting underpaid. That's a whole different topic, right? I've heard that so many times. I actually met another engineer. Same thing. She was struggling. Her male counterparts were making double what she was making. She started her own engineering. Right?
Good for her.
She had to. For her. She knew it was so uneven in the corporate. I mean, this was several years back. It's still this way, right? We're still trying to catch up as women. So I admire you guys for being self-employed because it takes guts. It takes so much strength. It takes discipline. It takes all that, right?
It does.
So I admire you guys, and I really appreciate you guys being a part of this show today. And like I said, we're going to talk about, how we're going to get your your information exposed, and that way you can get some new clients. What is your last comment you can say to the people out there watching? What advice can you give them?
Great question. That's a loaded question. If you're out there thinking of starting your own business, be sure you're a unit in your household. You need to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because you may not be able to go out and eat Chick-fil-A. You may have to make food at home. Well, I don't know. The sodium in that is really high.
It is,
So,
but it's cheap. So, you got to make sacrifices.
yeah, but that's going to be a really high health,
You're right. You're right. Just let us in.
Yeah.
Stop.
So I used to get my nails done all the time, and I would get my hair done every 6 weeks. And I actually don't do that anymore, not because I can't afford to, but because I would rather spend that money on taking out a realtor to coffee.
Oh, wow.
And
Or
building
investing
relationships.
in Louis Vuitton stock, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, I think the best advice I could give to someone is don't do it because you think you want to be your own boss.
Right.
Because
that's the worst mistake.
your boss will be every single person you meet in the street.
Absolutely.
Matter of factly, I just went to an open house to see one of my neighbors. She had an open house, and she said that her neighbor is a realtor and she's selling her own house. And she said she does not like her neighbor and she would not use her as a realtor. And so why I bring this up is because you don't know which person you will impact that may or may not refer you. And every single client I've assisted has left me a Google review. And
Nice.
I know that Google reviews are so important.
Absolutely.
So if you are already in the industry, you are an entrepreneur, make sure you're using Google SEO. And that's something that we can always talk later
yes.
about, but you need to make sure you have an online presence.
Y'all know what SEO is? Search engine optimization. What that means is it basically brings your company, when somebody Google searches you, it brings your company into more higher relevance. So that way your company is notified or noticed earlier, right? Than other companies.
You rank higher.
Rank higher. Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
That's
and
important for a
it
business.
is very important because now if I'm passing someone up and I cut them off, I think twice. Is my company decal on my car? If it is, I'm going to wave.
Right.
And you have an image to protect. You can't
Absolutely.
talk about your political views. You can't talk about
Religion.
any sort of controversial topic. So if you notice that, if you know within the next year you want to be entrepreneur, you need to really, you need to make sure that you're creating a brand that you're willing to stand by. So if you have those awkward posts, maybe think about deleting them.
Yep.
Social medias, right? Because you don't want your clients to see you looking questionable.
Yes.
Necessarily because
Or
you're
saying questionable things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or, I'm very authentic. I suffer with bipolar disorder, anxiety, and depression. And I don't really talk about it that much, but the reason why I feel confident about saying it is because a lot of times people think, oh, if you have anxiety, depression, or bipolar, you're not considered, sane to have your own business. I actually had a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who said to me, because I posted about my internal demons, and she said, no one's going to want to do business with you. No one's going to want to turn in their bank statement or their, pay stubs to you if you can't even handle your own mental well-being. And I said to myself, and it took me a second and I took that post down, and it just the reason why I took it down wasn't because I wanted to be an imposter. I took it down because there is truth to some of that.
Yes, you're right. Some people identify with you because let's face it, everybody is stressed out right now. Are you kidding me? I think everybody is to the point where they're stressed out, anxiety, depression. I think everybody here has gone through this, especially since COVID. Do y'all agree?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's something normal. Some people can identify with, some people may criticize you for it. I get it. It's your business. So I get it.
Yeah. And I had a friend of mine. She's, not a friend, but she's not a non-friend either, but she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and she came to me and she was so afraid, and she's a businesswoman herself, and she was so afraid of losing business. And she figured if people find out, they will not want to work with me. And, it's a really big issue out there.
It is
Absolutely.
huge. I've known some friends who have cancer diagnosis they want to hide that, or they have a very, like ill spouse
Right.
that they're caretaking for them. They want to keep that, so.
Well, we know just what we see on the outside. Everybody has a story. You guys, everybody has a story. We all have demons. There's not one person I know that doesn't have a mental issue. Just say, because we all go through it, right? So that is something normal. I think it's crazy for a person to judge you for it, but it is what it is. We do live in a judgmental society, right?
Absolutely.
Let's face it.
First impression counts.
It does. Unfortunately, sometimes it does.
It definitely does. So back to, just to recap, I would say if you're thinking of starting your own business, work on your brand image. You want to be authentic.
Absolutely.
And you want to make sure that you can look back 10 years from now. Let's say you're in politics, because a lot of real estate professionals, they do go into politics because they have that financial freedom and they want to be able to give back to society. For example, Frisco Mayor, Jeff Cheney, he's a real estate agent, realtor, and he's the mayor of Frisco, as well as the mayor of McKinney. He's also in real estate. And so can you imagine them posting a video about mental illness and how they're impacted, how people would judge them?
Absolutely. Especially if you're in the public like that, they're going to judge you.
Yeah.
Right?
And
we
so
hear about celebrities all the time and we all judge them.
We do. We hear about celebrities. We hear about politicians.
Absolutely.
And so I really talk about brand image, because if you want to talk about mental health or your viewpoints about any sort of controversial program, or, help me out with the word here, controversial topic.
Yes, absolutely.
Not a program. So if you want to think about a controversial topic, either own it, but know that could damage your business and your brand. And so if you're ready to build a brand, you can think about starting your own business, because when you're starting a business, it's not for you. You're able to leave a legacy behind, because someone else will take your business from you. And I really believe that you should really truly have a passion for what you do.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, you're not going to survive in that business, right?
Absolutely.
You agree?
You got to love what you sell.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it can be a hobby, because a lot of times people will say, I love to decorate cakes and now I'm going to open up a bakery. Well, have you talked to a CPA? Have you talked to a legal team? What if someone is gluten intolerant? And so when you're a business owner, you really have to think about the things that other people don't think about. It's not just about decorating a cake. It's about who will consume it. Who's going to produce it? Who are the employees? What do you have to teach them everything that you know? Yeah. And when I worked at the banking industry, I noticed that a lot of businesses would come in and next thing you know, they're not bringing in money and then they close. And so that really taught me a lesson that businesses, if you're a business owner, you need to make sure that you're prepared. Your family is involved and you have a savings, because if you don't have savings, I would be living under a box and having a license, but, I would be a loan officer living under a bridge, maybe near the Trinity River. Right. Yeah. Trinity River. I would, there's a nice view there. There you go. I would probably be there with my Home Depot box.
Right. And then take a little dip in the pool if you need to in the water.
Yeah. And just go and, have a meal.
Absolutely.
But, actually, I think beggars make a lot of money now that I think about it.
Girl, well, that's a whole different topic. I don't really give out my money. If I'm going to give out something, I'll give out food or water or something, because I've seen too many stories of them going around the corner in their Mercedes. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're driving a nicer car than me.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No. And just like you said, there should not be a jobless person in America.
I don't think there should be. There is no reason when
we can wash dishes, right?
Restaurant has a now hiring sign.
Absolutely.
There is no reason. And guess what? As a self-employed person, don't forget, you may not be busy working your business 8-10 hours a day at the beginning. You have extra time. Go to Starbucks. Make some coffee, get to know some people.
Right.
That's how you get to increase your, what we
Joint
call
networking.
sphere of influence, right? So or there are lots of opportunity for side hustle besides your
Absolutely.
actual job. People drive Uber, people
Yes.
do Uber Eats. All of these are to
So much.
supplement your income. And my advice to somebody who's going to start in the in any entrepreneurship world, I'm going to say, devise a plan, because only a
plan.
fool doesn't just jump straight to it. So make a plan. The plan can be 6 months.
Mhm.
The plan can be 4 years. Well, whatever it is, right? You need to have a plan.
I agree. And just because I see this all the time, they graduate from school and they have this wonderful shiny degree and they think like, oh, I know everything. No, you don't. You don't, because school will teach you limits, right? Limitations.
Yeah.
You don't have firsthand experience. You don't go through that unless you go through the blood, the sweat, and the tears to get to where Miss Lorena is today, right?
So did mortgage school teach you anything about being a loan officer? Not really, right?
Right.
So I went through a study buddy program. It's called MLO Study Buddy. If
Okay.
you're in the process of becoming a mortgage loan originator, check them out on Facebook. They helped me get my license. But
Nice.
I will say, anything that I remember about policies and procedures, I don't know what happened in what
Right.
year and who did what.
Yes.
I just
Just
know
a
in
bunch of
2008. Yeah, I just know in 2008 it was a hot mess, and now it's not.
Right. And now you're learning every single day that every client you're meeting, because it could be a different situation, right? You're learning every single day, I'm sure.
Because just because I finished real estate school, I don't know anything about selling real estate. I might know what some terms are. Guess what? I remembered not even really knowing how to fill out that blank real estate form. Everything's done for you. You just have to fill in some numbers. That in itself, graduating from real estate school doesn't teach me anything.
Right. It's all firsthand experience.
It is.
Right.
It is.
So thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. Did you guys have fun?
Absolutely.
I
It's so
did.
much
We're
fun.
going to do it again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
So y'all, we have their commitment. We'll talk about other things, right? Especially women in business, things like that. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll have more videos posted, but come check me out, Spicy Korean 517 on YouTube, TikTok, and everything else. We'll have all their handles as well. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.